Good evening and welcome to the May 8th, 2013 Goffstown Board of Selectmen meeting. Please join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we don't have any minutes to take up tonight. We'll see those at next week's meeting. Are there any announcements? I have one that I'll start out with. Tomorrow at 5:30 at the Harvest Christian Church is the final planned Pinardville meeting. So those folks who want to show up and have a final opportunity to make comments, that would be your opportunity to do so. After that point, the committee will take the comments and move on from there. So folks who want to have their voices heard, tomorrow at 5:30 is your opportunity. Are there other announcements from other members of the board? Sue, do you have any?
No, I don't.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Now we'll hold off on the public comment. Well, I guess we might as well go down to Bob Todd's coming in at 7:15. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess we jump all the way down to the town administrator's report.
I'm the fill-in, okay.
Might as well.
Your weekly meeting schedule, as stated in the announcements, Tuesday 5:30 Plan Pinardville, final presentation, and Thursday 7 p.m. is planning board meeting. Your consensus folder tonight includes manifest for the general fund AP is $225,992.30, and the general fund payroll withholding is $145,154.72, and your cable payroll withholding is $472.80. Employee status report is the rehire of the DPW labor. Appointment paper for the police officer who will be sworn in tonight, and event permit for Goffstown Garden Club plant sale on May 18th in the town common.
Motion to accept the consensus folder.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Selectman LeMay.
Yeah, that works.
Any comments? Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And your only correspondence this week is an invitation for the board to participate in the Memorial Day Parade, and that invitation is at 10B in your packet with all the details. The assessors' recommendations tonight include recommendation to approve 2012 tax year abatements for MAP 8 Lot 8-1 and MAP 18 Lot 35. And the 2000 tax year abatements recommended for denial would be MAP 28 Lot 3.
Motion?
To accept the assessor's recommendations.
Thank you.
Second that.
Second by Selectman Brown. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
No committee appointments this evening. Bid award recommendations. We did receive 2 bids for electricity, one from Integris and one from Constellation Energy. It looks like Integris is the low bidder, but we're still going through these RFPs. And since we went out with the town of New Boston and the SAU, we have emailed them the proposals. Integris bid, it was interesting. They bid different rate for the town of Goffstown, the SAU, and New Boston, but their rates across the board were lower than Constellation Energy from Boston. So we're checking out references and things like that, and like I said, the other entities have to review these too. But it looks like Integris is the low bidder at .0737 for a 12-month term for Goffstown. And the SAU is .0717, and New Boston was .0743. Neither one of these bidders would agree to a default rate should public service supply go lower than them, because they have to purchase the supply for that period of time. So you would be with them for that period of time.
Their rates are locked in, that's why.
Yes. And we compared these prices to Public Services' current price is .0954, and they have a request in to PUC right now, effective July 1st, to go down to .089.
To the P-
0898.
PUC?
Yeah, 0898. So these estimates, well, prices, bids are lower than their requested reduction, and theirs would be good for 6 months if PUC allows it on July 1st. So we can take that up once I hear from the other entities, but right now I just wanted to give you an update on that. Also, we had only one bidder today for gasoline and diesel, and it's the same person we've been dealing with for the past 5 years, and that's probably why we went without going out to bid in the past 5 years. There doesn't seem a lot of interest out there to bid fixed prices, but he did give us a fixed price, which was only good for 2 hours, and gasoline was 2.964, and diesel 3.241. Since it is a volatile market and the prices are changing every day, I would suggest that since this is the only bidder, that the board authorize me to negotiate a price with him and authorize me to sign a contract and try to get it down to what we budgeted for gasoline, hopefully. I was looking at the state contract, because they also got the state contract, but the state contract for gasoline is not fixed. It's a differential. And they did have a fixed rate for so many gallons for diesel, but the state's contract is a 2-year contract. And what it said was when they got to the end of using up their gallons, then they go to a differential on diesel. Of course, it makes it easier for us if we can get a fixed price to budget.
So there's no action required tonight,
Well, if
except
you to authorize me to
authorize you to negotiate on the
Right.
fuel prices.
I'll make that authorization, Mr. Chairman, to allow the town administrator to negotiate a contract price with whomever the bidder is.
Dennis Burke.
Dennis Burke, thank
We
you.
have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Also, you have a notice of used car sale that DPW sent over. That's at 10G in your packet, and they need a motion to proceed with posting those used cars.
Motion by Selectman Lemay,
Second.
second by Selectman Devanza. Is there any discussion on that?
Do you want the vehicles identified or
Yeah,
just?
why don't we do that? Yeah. so
For used car sales, one is a 2003 Ford Crown Vic with 101,974 miles. Second one is a 2007 Ford Crown Vic with 112,204 miles. The other one's a 1999 Ford Explorer with 152,116 miles. And the other one is a 1995 utility trailer, 6,000-pound gross weight. All bids, sealed envelope. Sealed bids will be accepted until 1 p.m. May 30th, Town Hall, Board of Selectmen, 16 Main Street, Goffstown. Bids will be opened by Public Works. Pretty much it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. The last item is I wanted to give you an update on the finance software. We are still going through our chart of accounts.
I didn't hear the vote on that.
Oh, you didn't? Was there a vote? I know the Selectman.
He
Lemay-
asked if they should list, and then he
Oh,
listed
okay.
them, and then you didn't do a vote.
Sorry,
Oh, we didn't take a vote? Okay.
I jumped the gun.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine.
See, I mark them off before you do it.
Virtualization, that's called.
During the process of setting up the chart of accounts, we've been discussing the benefits of pooled cash, and we did reach out to other communities to see if they're doing pooled cash, and everyone who has sophisticated enough software to do it, they are doing it because of the time saving. It's it's less labor intensive, and this software allows us to do it. The benefits are twofold. You go from 14 bank accounts down to 3 bank accounts, but everything's allocated through the fund that it's in. So now you only have to reconcile 3 bank accounts each month rather than 14, which will help immensely. Also, for budgeting purposes, now we can pay I don't know if you realize, but let's take sewer for an example. Right now, Ellen's payroll and benefits are in admin budget. They're also in her budget, and then we budget the revenue to come over. So she has it budgeted as an expense, we have it budgeted as an expense, but then they reimburse us, so you see it in the revenue side. With this type of software, we can just code her payroll each week to sewer. So it doesn't have to go through the town. And we use all the same checks in this pooled cash account, so you don't have to buy different stock check for special detail and GTV and sewer.
Yes.
How is it coded? Could you explain the coding process?
It's coded to fund, sewer is Fund 60. So we would code it to where it's budgeted. It's only budgeted once in sewer, and it's coded there.
So you have to know that you have to know the codes.
Yes.
Does this have any effect on when we do the budget sheets?
The way we'll budget next year will be different, yes.
Okay, but I guess in the sewer budget and in our budget, when you look at the budget sheets that we go by and the budget committee goes by, are they identifiable by looking at that? Is that code identifiable?
Yes. Right now, I should say, right now, some of sewer expenses are under Fund, well, all of their expenses are under Fund 60, but they also have a revenue, and we have a revenue. And so like next year, you wouldn't see the revenue coming over from sewer because there's nothing to reimburse us for. We're going to pay all the bills right out of that pooled cash account and code it to their sewer enterprise fund.
Okay, but I guess the question that I'm trying to find out is, when you look at these budget sheets as a budget committee member or as a selectman looking at the budget, are we going to be able to follow this, or is this something that we're going to need another sheet with codings to?
Okay, that's a different question. This won't affect that. You'll still see a budget for sewer,
Okay.
budget for EMS, budget for special detail,
Okay.
Cable revolving. Just like you do now, you see sewer and EMS. That will continue. But I know what you're getting at. Yeah, you will still see every expense.
Okay, but we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it.
There may be a conversion, if we start changing object codes, there may be a conversion chart for that.
Okay.
But that will all be done internally. We'll have the conversion chart, and whatever was in this line, if it was
Okay.
the wrong code, or there's a new code now, it will dump into that, so you'll get the history.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome. So yeah, budgeting and the fact that you don't have as many accounts and the fact that you don't have to have check stock for each one of these funds will, and I think we've explained that over the years, and that was why we didn't want to move forward with revolving funds, is because, oh my God, it's creating so much more work, and especially in payroll, because say there's 12 different steps to take for every payroll. If you had to do a payroll for each fund, you have to take those 12 steps for each fund. So this really will simplify it. So we're moving ahead in that direction. Dawn and Derek will be speaking with the Sewer Commission to make sure they're okay with it. It shouldn't affect them. As you recall, one year we went from interest earning accounts in the general fund and the sewer fund to earned credit accounts because the fees were so much higher than the interest that we were seeing, because there's a fee, FDIC fee, transaction fee. So we worked with the bankers and said, okay, do you have another product? And as a result of that, Dawn has saved the town about $15,000 a year by going from an interest earned to an earned credit state account for those two.
Right.
This pooled cash will be earned credit. And we're not giving up. Some of the smaller funds, we added it up to see how much interest these smaller funds earn. Maybe $150 a year total for all these other little miscellaneous funds. So that will go away, but the fees it's saving, like I said, far outweighs the interest you would have earned. We may have to revisit that someday when the interest comes back, but right now that's still the way to go. So that's the update right now. We're moving along in that chart of accounts and figuring out every segment code. I mean, you could have a code this long. You know, you could have so many codes, but we have to get it down to 8 The short code will be only 8, plus the object code. So we're still working on that, but we want to get as much sorting ability as possible. So if we wanted to know what one facility cost us by doing a location code, we'll be able to do that. Department code. It's overwhelming, the number of codes, these new software.
We have less accounts but more codes.
It'll allow you to
Yeah,
run,
but they'll shorten it. They'll give a shortened code on the actual budget.
plus it'll allow you to run all kinds of reports.
Yes.
I mean, you get
Yeah.
all kinds of things.
It's amazing. It will really change the way we do business.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
Don't have the oath of office till 6:30. I see there was a donation that is scheduled for 6:20. I don't see any reason why we can't take that up early.
No, the chief is here for
Chief
that.
is here, yeah.
Thank you. We currently have in our inventory and in our usage two 22s, a 22 rifle and 22 pistol we use to dispatch injured animals. They've been in service now for quite a few years. They were used when we first got them. And we have a donation before us of a rifle to replace the other one, the other rifle we currently have, and a revolver to replace the other revolver. The cost of, or the value of those are $499.99 combined. And the only caveat that Glenn Dubois, who's donating them, is that we sell those current weapons and use the, surplus or the money from those to outfit with magazines, et cetera, the current weapons and or ammunition. So that's.
It's always good to have reliable firearms,
Yes, it is.
as opposed to unreliable firearms, I suppose.
So because
Sounds-
this is under that $5,000 limit, it just had to appear on your agenda and be voted in by the board.
Any questions from board
If
members?
not, I'll make a motion that we accept the, was there a question? No. I'll make a motion that we accept the donation on behalf of Glenn Dubois for the pistol and for the firearms as presented in the letter from Mr. Dubois.
Motion from Selectman Devanza, second by Selectman Campusano. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, a letter of thanks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, could we put a letter to Glenn Dubois thanking him for the donation? We went by our 6:10 opportunity for public comment. I don't see anyone here to comment from the public, but again, we certainly invite people to come down. If they've got issues they'd like to discuss with the board, come visit us and share your concerns with us. We have 2 public comment sessions, one at 6:10, another one later in the evening around 7:30. Let's see, so what do we have left that we can take up? We have, let's see,
To do committee reports.
yeah, we could do committee reports. EDC and HDC. My turn, EDC?
I did.
That's right, Mark.
And where are we? The meeting was kind of short. They reelected Steve Langley as their chair. Charlie Dentis was their vice chair. They discussed some expenditures they're talking about. I don't know if that's going to happen. They're going to do a little work with Bo and Londonderry and ask them what that money did for them, if they had any impact. Talked a little bit the I-293 exits again. And talk about sewer and gas to sites to streamline a little bit better on some of these properties they're looking at. Other than that, it was a very short meeting, and they're going to meet again in May. I don't have the date here with me.
June 5th?
Oh, June, yes.
Fifth.
I'm sorry, June 5th, yeah. I'm in May now. And that's all I have from those guys.
There's no further discussion on the Glen Lake parking?
No, not really. No,
Okay.
nothing.
All right.
And I think Charlie is the one attending the all boards
Yes.
meeting next week.
Yeah,
uh,
right?
Charlie will be here.
Okay.
Charlie will be here.
Phil, did you have anything?
Yep, HDC did meet and basically put a plan together. Not everybody was able to attend because there was confusion since we met here rather than in Grassmere, and many people went to Grassmere and figured there was no meeting, so they went home. So next time we'll have our meeting upstairs. So we did put together a plan for the base. We have a couple of alternates that we're going. We have a time frame, and we're trying to stick to our plan, and hopefully we might have to have another meeting again this week, the end of this week or beginning of next, to try to firm everything up when we get some more information that we needed.
Thank you. All right. Trying to move as slowly as I can, Sue, but
Are you folks ready to start early? Okay.
Just, I just hope I made it clear that the meeting was basically about the base of the statute.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
I would be reflecting it that way.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I was not just talking about everything but what the meeting was actually.
Collis?
Yes.
You're all set?
Oh, okay, great.
Mom, what are we in here for?
Is that protocol? I have to stay with you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Like this side?
Yeah.
Selectmen want to join me over on the
Sure.
side?
Here, is that everybody? If I could just take a moment to introduce Officer Pelletier. See? Jackie began her law enforcement career here in Goffstown as a dispatcher in 1999. In 2001, she was sworn as a part-time officer. Most recently, she's been employed by the Dunbarton Police Department and currently has 9 years of experience as a full-time patrolman and a master patrolman in Dunbarton. She holds a BS in Emergency and Disaster Management with an associate's degree in Criminal Justice. She's a certified FTO, school resource officer, along with a RAD and DARE instructor certifications. She's actively involved in community policing and the New Hampshire Cadet Academy. Her husband, Mike, is a trooper with New Hampshire State Police, and she has 2 children, Nathan and Michaela. Jackie?
Hi. How are you? Good, thank you. Whereas there is a vacancy in the office of police officer in the town of Goffstown Police Department, and whereas we, the subscribers, have confidence in your ability and integrity to perform the duties of said office, we do hereby appoint you, the said Jacqueline Pelletier, a police officer of the said town, and upon taking your oath of office and having this appointment and the certificate of said oath of the office recorded by the town clerk, you shall have the powers, perform the duties, and be subject to the liabilities of such office until another person shall be chosen and qualified in your stead. Given under our hands this 6th day of May, 2013, it is signed by the members of the Goffstown Board of Selectmen. So if you raise your right hand, please. I, state your name,
Jacqueline Pelletier,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent on me
all the duties incumbent upon me
as police officer
as police officer
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeable to the United States Constitution,
agreeable to the United States Constitution,
rules and regulations of the Constitution,
rules and regulations of the Constitution,
and laws of the state of New Hampshire,
and laws of the state of New Hampshire,
and the ordinances of the town of Goffstown.
and the ordinances of the town of Boston.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome forward.
Mike, you want to stick her with the badge? I didn't pin it on her.
Is this like the wedding cake?
Hopefully this is cleaner. Thanks, buddy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've got a short reception here. Would you like to introduce any of your relatives or friends, family, guests?
I have my brother, my sister-in-law, my niece Jenna, and my nephew Carter. I have some folks from the Cadet Academy, and I have some wonderful residents from the town of Dunbar. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got a reception, if it's all right with the board.
And so the folks on GTV 16 knows we're going to be taking a short recess for about half an hour for the reception, and we'll be back in about half an hour. Thank you.
Are we going home? He says.
Oops, excuse me. Sorry, go ahead.
They know it's going to be.
Long weekend this weekend, huh?
Huh?
You must have had a long weekend running here and there.
Very long weekend.
That pig roast Saturday took me
Lori?
Well, I have nothing but dirt.
Ooh.
Okay, here we go, folks. Well, welcome back to the May 6, 2013 Goffstown Board of Selectmen's meeting. Just had a reception for a newly appointed police officer. Next on the agenda, we're going to take up an Eagle Scout project presentation by Nick Raven. Nick, how are you? Good, thanks. Sure, come on, sit at the table. Make yourself comfortable. The place is yours.
So, I believe it's in your packet. It should be like a PowerPoint of my project. Basically, my Eagle Scout project, I want to do it at Barnard Park down in Goffstown. I want to build a physical fitness course by buying 11 signs and building core platforms for the exercises. The PowerPoint that you guys have will go through each of the courses that I would like to do. And so the course is meant to work with anyone. Like if you're just starting to work out, it's a place you can go instead of buying membership at a huge weight room place. It will work on all like the muscles like your back, your core, your legs, and your arms. Most of the exercises use what's already there at Barnard Park, like the monkey gym, the track, and just open space. The reason why I want to build the 4 platforms is because, like push-ups, people don't want to get onto the ground unless there's like a nice, good surface for it. So I'm going to build those. The signs, I'm going to buy them from Sousa Signs in Pinardville. I already got a quote from them, and the signs are basically going to look around like this. They're going to be around 3 feet standing, so people can see them from all heights at an angle. And the platforms will be around 3.5 feet to 3 feet in width and 5 feet in length, so anyone can use them like for their width. And because the longer ones are for the push-ups, the thinner ones are just for sit-ups because you don't need to be as wide. So those are the only things I'll be building because everything's mainly there. It's already been approved by Parks and Rec, so they like the project. I just need your guys' approval so I can start it because it is town property. And all like the signs won't like get in the way. That's anything that's already there. Like even the sign that'll be near the playgrounds will be off the playground, so little kids won't run into it. And we'll put posts around each sign, so like colorful, so people know that they're there, so they don't just like run into them. And the edges will be dulled, so there won't be sharp edges on them. The platforms will be made out of 4x4s and 2x6s. I'm going to have the 4x4s laid out in a rectangle with a 4x4 going across them in the middle for support of the 2x4s. 2x6s are going across of them. They're going to be anchored by a cement block dug into the ground at 3 feet with a chain going through it and with eye hooks so that the platform can't be lifted, which will make it so no one can steal them and so no one can move them and get hurt. The signs are going to be cemented into the ground with 2 metal poles going through them so that they can't be pulled out either. The 2 metal poles are used so it's more surface area. So those can't be moved either. The signs will be made out of aluminum, and the post for the signs, I'm debating between using a 4x4 and or an aluminum pole. Both of them would work the same way. It just depends on how much I can fundraise for my project. That's the main information that you guys would need to know about it. So if you guys have any questions?
When would you expect to begin construction, Nick?
Construction.
How long do you think the construction is going to take?
Construction will probably take a month total, but it will be off. The building of the platforms will be off property. That will be at my house, so that won't be with you guys. So for you guys, it'll probably be on your property, maybe free weekend to dig the holes, but whatever hole I dig up will be filled in. There'll be something in the hole before I leave that day, so that there's not just a gaping hole for someone to fall into. I'll have something in it at least by the end of the day.
And besides you, who would be supervising the work? Will Director Wilhelmy or one of his staff be there to make sure that things go in the right place, or will you lay it out ahead of time and just get Director Wilhelmy's blessing to go forward from there, or how?
I already showed him where I want to put everything. I do have a map of where each sign's going to go.
Okay.
And then I've also told him where the platforms are going with the signs, so like he knows which signs get a platform.
Mm-hmm.
And then also there will also be adults there from my troop, making sure that everyone's being safe about it. And for the digging, I'm going to call Safe Dig. It's a company that basically will go in and check and make sure that I'm able to dig without hitting a hole. So I won't hit anything. And if I do, they'll cover it.
Okay. Members of the board have questions for Nick about his proposal? Sounds great.
Question. Will the platforms be removed in the wintertime, or will they stay out year-round?
They'll stay out year-round. I'm going to put a type of polyurethane on them. It won't be stain because stain can sometimes be toxic on the skin. Polyurethane is just a clear coat of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, just a question on your signs. You talked about 2 posts and the mounting and concrete. I assume since Sousa Sign is making the signs, you've discussed the installation of them with them?
I would install them. My troop would install them. The only thing that Sousa signs, I would use them to either attach to the metal. If I'm using aluminum pole, they're going to attach it for me, the sign to the pole. If I'm using a 4x4, I'll do that at school with a teacher of mine. And then the installation will be done. Someone at Parks and Rec knows how to do cementing, and he said that he can help me. And everything else, me and other adults have discussed with how to actually do it.
Okay.
And I know that it has to at least be minimum 3 feet into the ground, which is the legal limit for that. So the poles will be around 6 feet high. 3 feet will be about 3 feet will be in the ground.
Okay. But if you have any questions on that, if you ask Tom, either Tom or Justin over at Sousa Sign, they'll help you out with that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Nick, it would be good if, when you're done, I don't know, maybe it's part of what you have to do for the project, to just give us a report, let us know that you're done. Maybe
I can do
a
that.
brief summary of what you did so that we're aware of it, and
Okay.
that would be helpful.
It's a great project. Just let him go ahead.
Yeah?
No question.
Yeah, any other questions from members of the board? Nick?
Good project.
All right, I think what we need then is a motion to authorize him to go ahead with the project that's been presented.
I'll make a motion. We let Nick go ahead with this project the way he's got it set up to go, and I think that's...
All right, motion from
I'll
Selectman
second.
Brown, seconded by Selectman Devanza. Is there any discussion from board members? Nope. None. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Good luck. Thanks for coming in.
Luck.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Well, let's see, we've got Bob Todd coming in at 7:15. Perhaps we can move forward with some of Carl's. Carl, would you want to start a little early?
Sure. Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, the first thing on your list is the MS4 update. That'll be really quick. There's nothing new since last week. Still kind of waiting for the agreement to get finalized with input from everybody, so we don't have anything yet. The CMAC Steering Committee charter, I don't know if the board has any questions about that or suggestions on things that should be different. one of the things that's kind of pushing this along is the same residents that would be interested in, the information meeting for this project will basically be the information meeting for our Pleasant Street construction project. So we kind of were thinking that it'd be good to try to coordinate and have maybe both hearings the same night, back to back, so that folks don't have to come out twice. If they're interested in both projects, they could stay for both projects. So we kind of wanted to get this rolling sooner rather than later.
And that date is May
21st, tentatively.
May 21st, tentative. Okay.
If the board's comfortable with everything here.
I personally don't see anything that I have any issues with. Any other members of the board have anything that they have questions on or want to comment on? I think we ought to get the process rolling and get it in gear. So we all set with the makeup of the committee? Deliverables, timeframe, and everything? All right.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Could we reach out to some of the potential impacted, either organizations or individuals? Those 3 community at large individuals ideally should be
Village area?
maybe somebody from the truck center or living within the impact area of that.
Or a business within the impact area?
Or business within the impact area.
Okay.
Yep, sure. That makes sense. Any other comments or discussion? I would entertain a motion then to approve the charter for the CMAC Intersections Project Steering Committee.
Second.
Motion by Selectman Campusano, seconded by Selectman Lemay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries 5-0.
The next item was the street excavation rules that accompany the ordinance that the board approved 2 weeks ago. I believe we incorporated the comments that the board was interested in, and we left the basically the process that we have for the if somebody cuts into a moratorium street until we can establish the fund that we had talked about for the fee.
As I recall, we had very limited comments on this.
Right.
We just changed a couple words.
Yeah. Yep. And I think we've addressed all of those, so I think with that, we can probably entertain a motion for that as well.
So moved.
A motion? Do you have a second on it?
Second.
To Selectman Brown. It's a second. Any discussion on motion?
I just have one
Yeah.
quick question. Carl, on the waiver in the ordinance itself, I believe it's Roman numeral 6, is that wording different than what we had on April 8th? I mean, I don't have a problem with the wording, but it just looks a little more in depth. The one I have from my April 8th packet says the Board of Selectmen retains the authority to waive any or all provisions of this ordinance for emergencies or hardships at a duly noticed meeting. Is that wording we
This
changed?
was Attorney Drescher's wording, right?
Yeah, this was remember that night we had, kind of came in late, so I had one version, you guys had a different. We had it.
All right, great. Thank you.
I had Bill Drescher's wording.
Is there any other comments or discussion? Nope. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And finally, Spring Street discussion.
Yeah, we, I think you guys, did they get
They got the
Megan's?
as-bills.
And did they get Megan's, they got Megan's email, right, explaining everything?
No.
I don't
not-
recall seeing that.
No?
Okay. Megan had put together an email that explained the as-built. So really briefly, basically the design was done, the easements were obtained in 2011, the design was done in 2012. What constricted things were the tight right-of-way on Spring Street, and there were several obstructions. There's a tree that's kind of in the way, and the way the yard slopes down, if we would have cut the tree, it would have involved a very significant fill in the yard that the residents were not real comfortable with. So the turnaround depth ideally would have been 40 feet. But what we did is we did 33 feet on one side, and then there's 20 feet on the other side. I went up there today with a garbage truck just to get a visual and really see what the issues were. I'll pass these two photos around because there are issues that we were not even aware of until I went up and did this exercise. One, the Hodges had a fire at their house and had to reconstruct part of their house. And I was unaware of it. But if you look in the second photo, the one that Selectman LeMay has, you can see that when they installed the cable service into the house, that cable wire is actually touching the back of the truck. So the guys can't back under that. So we could contact the cable company and see if we could have that raised, but currently that's what makes that unusable by the larger trucks because the wire is in the way. And in the photo that Selectman Brown has, the issue is not in the turnaround, but with the pole and the guy wire and the building, there was a car, just so happened, parked in front of the house coming down the street, which is not posted no parking, so he was perfectly legal doing so. However, the truck really had a hard time swinging out of the turnaround just because of the narrow street and that vehicle being parked there. Talking to the drivers, their issue is if they drive up, because all of the residents from years and years and years of us backing up Spring Street and picking it up, they're all accustomed to putting all the cans on one side of the street. So the truck backs up, drives down, gets all the cans on his way out. If they drive up forward, get up there and there's an obstruction that they can't deal with, then they have to back all the way out, turn around in Elm Street, back all the way up and pick it up. So they've just kind of decided that it's not worth taking the gamble that there'll be a car in the way, and with that wire there, that's definitely an issue. So, physically, once we lifted the wire, the truck was able to make the maneuver just fine. So the turnaround is technically large enough. It's just there are some administrative things we'd have to do, and then obviously, when Fairpoint or Comcast or whoever's wire that is put it in, they weren't thinking of it as a road. They were thinking of it as a driveway. So we'd have to have them come back and raise that wire a few feet.
Mr. Chairman, is there a state statute that says anything about wires being a certain height? Anybody aware of anything like that? I know we had a similar thing a couple of years ago when we did the Addison Road. They redid the road. They raised the road up so high that I actually went there on a call where a tractor trailer got stuck up under the wires. I'm just wondering if up there, because the road's been redone up and now the bed of the road's different and the new house is there. I'm just wondering if somebody overlooked that spot on the height of the wires being in play.
Well, I assume it's town right-of-way.
It's an easement. Yeah, it's an easement.
So that doesn't seem like that's a big deal to correct that.
No, I don't think it's obviously
a
it's
mast on the house or something.
Right. And the electrical has a mast on the house, but when they put the cable, they just went right to the corner of the eave, which is just too low. We just took a shovel today and lifted it up a couple of feet, and the truck was able to back right under it. So I don't think it's hard to fix. They just would need to come back and fix it.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to suggest in the wintertime we shouldn't have an issue because there's the parking ban.
Right.
From November through April. So maybe this board should explore a no parking in front of that house on the trash day, on a specific day, so that that area is clear.
Yeah, because I certainly understand the hesitancy for the drivers to get all the way up there and then say, oops, I can't maneuver it. So the residents themselves, it's part of the agreement. You've seen the agreement. It's they clearly understand that they can't park in the way or anything on those certain days and events.
So question,
Yeah.
if they drive in and they can't turn around, they can back out rather than back in and have to drive out. I mean, either way, they're back in one direction or the other, correct? I mean,
Yeah, but the truck only picks up on the right-hand side of the vehicle. So if he drives up there, all the cans are on the other side, unless we flopped all the cans, to the opposite side of the street, which
yeah, see,
is
that'd be-
also
just
possible.
Raise the wire. And it's done deal.
So it would only be one day a week and for certain hours of the day that would be for no parking on one side of the street or both sides of the street, or?
Well, it's really a fairly limited area right up at that turnaround.
I mean, it seems to me that's a pretty simple
I think
issue
also,
to tackle.
We just put a sign, no parking, within 50 feet or 75 feet of the corner. Right?
Just limited to the,
Yeah.
to the
To the
trash
trash
pickup.
day.
Trash
Yeah.
pickup, that's all.
Yeah, because we'll have to have an ordinance and 2 public hearings.
So, Carl, could maybe next week you come forward with a proposal as to exactly where and what and signage, and because we'll have to hold the public hearing.
You'll have to have an ordinance, right? You'll have to draft language for an ordinance, and then do the required 2 public hearings. But I think you should look at the draft language before
Right.
you
Yes.
proceed with public
Yeah,
hearings.
where are we going to do it? How long? When? Yes.
Just a quick, I looked at that up there, and I think if you just were maybe to raise up the wire, you could still turn the truck around. You might have to back up once or twice.
Right.
You might not have to go through the whole bit with the ordinance. If you just fix the wire first and give it a run. That might be why not take the simple route first and see if we can.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could deal with that guy wire, because
That's the biggest
That's
issue you got. That's,
yeah,
That's
the
simple.
guy wire and the
if you back up
wire.
and pull it down, they'll have to fix it and they'll raise it up.
So we can contact them and see what we can do about that. And
Yeah.
Selectman Brown said maybe it resolves the issue.
He's all right there on the spot.
Yeah.
Sure. So how do we effect that change? Who do we contact? How do we make?
Well, I can find out who the service provider is and start with a simple phone call and see if it'll be easy or tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, to Selectman Lemay's question, there is a minimum clearance over a roadway, and given the fact we have an easement,
Yeah.
I would think that would constitute a roadway in the eyes of the law, so
Exactly.
there shouldn't be any reason for them to say no. It's
No,
just,
they don't want to come fix that wire if they don't have to, so they just raise it up.
And we would communicate all of this to the homeowner?
yeah.
Well, sounds like the route we should take then.
Okay. Like a plan.
Yeah, let us know next week how you make out. Yes.
Just looking, I think it's after our
Yeah.
7:15
it
meeting,
is.
and the
It is.
encumbrance may take a little bit
Yeah, it may.
of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't we get back to your 7:15 appointment, which is Bob Todd regarding a boundary line agreement with the town. Good evening, Bob.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
How are you?
I'm very well, and yourself?
Fine, thank you.
The administrator suggested that I prepare a PowerPoint that you could probably read faster than I can present it to you. So I'm going to hand it out.
Thank you, sir.
It's in the form of a proposal. It's attached to a plan that represents the situation, and there's also attached the copy of the
I'll pass it back.
state statute regarding solving boundary issues with a boundary line agreement.
Do you have one
Well,
more for
well,
Selectman Brown?
Send them away, Bob.
You probably recognize from the map where this issue is, diagonally across the street at 7 Main Street, Rentals, which is the name of the owner, and adjoining this piece on the north is the town property, which is now used as a parking area. And there's a access strip that goes in from Main Street by this property to that parking area. And basically the issue is relative to the lines that are labeled A, B, and C.
And so can you walk us through it, Bob? Just basically tell us what your findings were. And
Yes, we did a thorough search of the records back to the common owner, and we have searched thoroughly for plans on record. We searched thoroughly for physical evidence on the ground. We've done quite a lot of research that's not on record, primarily the Hadley history of town, which was very helpful, even provided pictures for me to look at as it existed back in the 1880s. As you can see from the plan, people have struggled with these boundaries in the past. In 1889, there was a boundary line agreement that involved land now that the town owns and the land that's now owned by 7 Main Street rentals. And that was well established. And then in 1947, there was a boundary line agreement on about half of the south line of the subject property. Sometime in the recent past, there was some work done on the street, and they tore up. There was a replacement of the walkway, and I believe at that time the iron pipe disappeared. That was established in 1947 as the property corner. Someone placed a granite bound there, and I think they did very well. They got it within a foot of where the iron pipe was originally. I don't know whether the town was involved in that. I couldn't find any other record of a survey being made to reestablish that. So that set the location of the northerly line of the subject tract and the southerly line of the subject tract, but it didn't help me with the east end, where it jogs to the south and then jogs to the east as it adjoins the existing Goffstown parking area. The evidence is just so weak that I didn't feel good about making a guess at where that line should be. The occupation line is not discrete enough. If it had been a fence line and lower hedges and so forth, I probably would have jumped at that as being a long-standing occupation. But in this case, it's nothing of that that's visible. We've used metal detectors in the area of A, B, and C, and all along in that area, and didn't find any varied evidence. So what I'm proposing is that the town and 7 Main Street enter into a boundary line agreement with the 7 Main Street bearing all the costs, and we would furnish a copy of a boundary line agreement, which you could have your attorney look at, along with a copy of the plan, and then we'd be happy to set the bounds if everybody's in agreement, and then prepare a plan for recording, which the town will, of course, get a copy of. I think everybody wins in the situation.
Bob, have the abutters been engaged at all throughout the process? Or are we going to get any...
The only 2 abutters that are involved, only one abutter involved, and that's the town itself.
Well, we've got Connor.
We're not. Yeah, the lot 147. We're going by the fences that they've erected and have been erected for over 20 years.
Okay.
They have a distance call in their westerly line that doesn't fit the fence, but that's their problem, I think. I think we're okay on that end of it.
And Hoffman, they're 156. Oh, down below, yeah, southerly.
Yeah, that's a long-standing line.
Along the chain link
Goes
fence?
back a long ways.
Yeah.
In the record.
And then 154, that is all the Choquettes.
154, that's...
154. Where's 150? Oh, that's right out along Main Street. That's the commercial building. That's the main commercial
coffee
building.
shop there.
Yeah.
That line was established in 1947, and I didn't have any problem reestablishing or marking that line, or surveying it, I should say.
It's pretty straightforward to me, so.
So the boundary would just be, the boundary agreement would just be from line A to B and B to C.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with the rest of it. That whole area in there is a mess.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We had that debate last year. We did. I mean, that fence by the Connors property, I guess, was just, we had quite a debate about that, and I mean, if that's where it is, whoever put it back did a pretty good job putting it back, you know.
I looked through some of the deeds. I went back to 1889, and so many feet here to the picket fence, to the garden fence, to the. I wouldn't even want to try to unravel all of
I mean,
this
apparently
is
the town engaged Mike Dahlberg to do some work in that area to the north because the selectmen, I think, felt that there was some encroachments from the north onto that strip that they're now using as a boundary, as a parking lot. And Mike got into it and made a report, and they said, "Don't do any more. It's going to be too problematic."
Yes.
And Bob, the granite bound was found at the B point?
At the what?
Which point is the granite bound that you said there was a granite bound and you said it was about a foot off?
Yeah, that's the
southwest corner.
Southwest corner on Main Street.
Main Street.
Oh, yeah. Right over
Insert
here.
A.
See the
Okay,
detail
yep, okay.
That's off a little bit.
All right. So, but that bound is has got nothing to do with
Nothing to do with
This
the
one.
ABC.
Yeah, the present question is not related to that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so all this work is at no cost to the town.
That's correct. Just your time.
It's a no-brainer.
it would straighten out some of the
Yeah.
confusion.
Sure would.
I think it'd be a worthwhile move.
So what we need to do then is authorize them to move forward in accordance with the plan and the conditions in the plan, most notably it's at their expense and everything will be recorded and Mylar's prepared and town council,
Review.
You can pretty much use my
yeah.
proposal.
Right.
I was just going to suggest that.
Do you have an extra one that I can give the town attorney?
Here, so you
Packet?
can.
Oh, okay, I'll take yours. All right. Oh, okay.
We've got plenty of them.
All right.
Enough for now, so you're good.
Well, I think it's pretty straightforward in my mind, so I guess I'd entertain a motion to move forward with the proposal that's been presented to us tonight. Someone
It's either that or wait till we hear back from.
Well, we can
That could be part
make
of
that part of the motion so we don't have to revisit. So moved with the provision that assuming
review by our town attorney.
to their satisfaction. Okay, so we have a motion by Selectman
second.
Cantasano, seconded by Selectman Lemay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Sue, do you need this one?
If you don't need it,
Okay. Well,
Unless you want one, so if you're on the
Pass it
phone
down.
with
yep,
Dresser, you
I
can
can
have
mail him
mine.
one.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right, they're all going
I guess
back.
I'm getting them all.
There you go. We've got one for Catherine to put in the minutes.
There we go.
I scratched on mine, so I'll keep mine.
I'll give them all to you. How's that?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Takes care of that item. So we have the item, but it's not till 8 o'clock for the,
Oh, you still have to finish up with Carl?
oh, that's right, yeah, we still got one more thing. Come on back, Carl. Come on down. Okay. So this is tab 8E in our packet.
Well, why don't we just say I'm here to answer whatever the board's question was regarding the encumbrance. And we will zero right in on the right thing and not go roundabout all kinds of things that aren't related.
Well, I think Selectman Campusano had some questions or concerns that he wanted to raise. So, Nick, do you want to jump into it?
Why don't I just hand these out so everyone can follow along?
Do we have one for Carl? Does he need one, or?
I've got a copy here.
Oh, all right.
That's the RSA.
Are these all the same? Yeah.
If I could, I'll just do a little review on what brought this about. We, on April 1st, at our April 1st meeting, we had reviewed the RFP bid award, which was awarded to Continental Paving. And I reviewed the contract road list that was put out to bid, compared it to I believe the week after you had given us the road plan, the 2013 road plan. And just to compare the roads that were on the contract list as well as the roads on the road plan. And then last week, when we had the issue with cemetery, I was reviewing the encumbrance list that the previous board had passed in December. And that's when I noticed that Brock's, we had an encumbrance for Brock's for $360,000, which is now $336 because of the invoices that came in before the end of the year. And so the question that I posed last week is, if we were giving the work to Continental, how did we legally encumber the remaining balance of money from Brock's? And that's where the state RSA 32.7 comes in. Money lapses at the end of your budget year unless you have a legal obligation to pay. I was questioning what the legal obligation that we had to pay Brock's, since we weren't awarding them the contract. And in the email string that you have in your packet, on May 1st, one of Carl's emails, he said in the email that it was not your intention to utilize Brock's this year for any paving. So in looking at RSA 32.7, there was no legal obligation to pay Brock's all the way up until May 1st. We had a legal opinion. We went back and forth, and short of reading the contract language, the attorney basically said that the just holding over an encumbrance without having the work done did not meet 32.7. So I also look back because there was an issue raised that we have been historically doing this. And Carl, you were correct. In looking at 32.7, if you look at subsection 5, which is the red highlight, special articles can be encumbered for an extra year. If you don't need to do anything, you don't even have to have a contract. You can just hold over that money for an extra year. In 2004, our road plan was a special article. 2005, our road plan was a special article. 2006 and 2007, it was a special article. So I'm sure that encumbering money for that extra year began then because it was legal to do. You get that extra year because those were all special articles. 2008 and 9 and 2010, however, it was in the budget. 2011, there was a $500,000, roughly $499,000 addition that was a special article. So that year, money could have been encumbered for the second year. In 2012, we were in a default budget. There was no, the special article didn't pass. So that encumbrance or that money was not properly encumbered under 32.7. There was no legal obligation to hold that money over. In our packet tonight, Carl, in his memo, suggests that we follow 32.7 and gives his recommendation for doing that. And while I appreciate you recommending we abide by 32.7, unfortunately, I don't think your solution is legal under the state RSA. We didn't have a legal obligation. Our contracts, as they're written, and you have a copy of that, reserves the right by the town to extend the time of the contract. But just, that's all it does. It obligates the vendor to do the paving if we so desire. But it doesn't obligate the town to the vendor. Simply by that email in May where we did not choose to give any work to Brock's, right there, we couldn't have made that decision if we had a legal obligation to the vendor. If the town buys something, and come December, we haven't paid for it yet, that's a legal obligation. That vendor's going to knock on our door and say, you owe me money. Come December 31st, Brock's didn't come looking for the money because they knew it's up to us if we want to have any more paving done by them. So there was no legal obligation on the part of the town to have Brock's continue and to have to pay Brock's. And again, that was evident in May when we decided that, but to that point, we weren't going to have them do the work. So I would like to be able to just say, well, don't worry about it. But when we were all sworn in, we swore an oath to uphold the statutes of the state. And the statute says, unless you have a legal obligation to bind that money over, you can't.
Yeah, the last email correspondence I had with Christine, she said she couldn't interpret it unless she had the contract.
Mm-hmm.
I sent this contract, actually, well, the signed one, which is basically the same as what was in the specs. Sent that to her today, and I haven't heard a response yet. It typically takes them 24, 48 hours to respond. Because I wanted to know, here's the contract. Do you want to review it? Now, I don't know if she'll review it because usually, as you know, LGC doesn't get into specific contracts. They just get into general type of advice. But I did not have a response yet from her. Because when I read this, I said, you could read it different ways, this clause, and that's probably why she wants to read the contract. But when I read the contract, it says that the town reserves the right to extend the contract time to the following spring to allow for proper completion of tonnages as agreed upon in these contract documents. Mm-hmm. So I interpret that as the selectmen chose to activate that reserved right and extend that contract to the next year by doing the encumbrance, so which made it a legal obligation.
To who?
To Brock's.
The legal obligation, if I may.
The PO and the contract is
the
with
legal
Brock's.
obligation that has to obligate the town to pay. On December 31st, there was no legal obligation. If we had the choice to sit here and say, we'll extend it or we won't extend it, there's no legal obligation there. Legal obligation
But when
is,
you took action
yes,
to encumber, you made an obligation to them. When you chose to encumber the balance of that contract to Brock's, you made a legal obligation to them.
Was Brock's notified?
If I can. I believe what Selectman Camposano said, that was in 2008 and 2009, and I think in 2010 there was no special article. 2008 is when the Board of Selectmen would not let us encumber the money and pointed out that it's not a special article, therefore it can't be encumbered. 2009, we had a very lengthy discussion, and the current contract language has been in place since 2009. I actually have the minutes from that discussion.
I think I brought it up.
You did. In 2009 and 2010, we encumbered hundreds of thousands of dollars at year end. The following year, when the bids went out, the roads from the old year were in the new bid. So that same argument of vendor, not committing a vendor, was in place then as well. We were fortunate in that Continental kept getting the bid, but had they not, we would have been in the exact same place. The contract also reserves the right for the town to change the list, which we do regularly. Every year we have new roads we want to put in. If you look at last year's list, there were several roads we did that weren't on the bid sheet, but they became a priority. We juggled things around. We did the work. So we reserve the right in that contract to be flexible, to respond to whatever needs we have. It is a binding contract. If I pick up the phone today and I call Brock's and say, hey, last year you bid on East Dunbarton Road and you bid on whatever other one I said in my memo, Addison Road, they're not going to say, or they can't say to me, well, yeah, but we're not going to do it because Continental's your guy. I mean, we have a binding contract with Brock's to come and do the work. Would I prefer to do it, without dealing with two different vendors? Yes, I would. In my view, that's been our past practice. Last year, Brock's did about $600,000 worth of stuff that was on Continental's list the year before. And we did it, and they got paid, and nobody screamed about it. And that's why this year I just kind of viewed it as the same procedure. As far as the encumbrance being legal, we had a legal binding contract. As Sue said, the selectmen exercised that option. We encumbered the money, I think, properly. The clause is very clear. The action was very clear. The money was encumbered. The only place it went awry is when we put it out to bid this year. For expediency's sake, we listed those roads in Continental's bid. But we can take them off Continental's bid because we reserve that right. So there's nothing binding us to doing the work with Continental. But if it means losing the money, we can be bound to doing it with Brock's.
If I may, and thank you, Carl, because you are correct historically. And at the time, my understanding was that the wording was corrected so that we could give that work back to the paver from the year before. And as you mentioned, Continental had gotten it, so it never changed. So I was under the impression that that's what was happening. And you are absolutely correct. This is a binding contract on the vendor. If you pick up the phone and say, you know what, there's still work that's done in this contract we want you to do. However, if Brock's had picked up the phone and said to you, before this conversation even occurred, you owe me the balance of this contract, you could easily have said to him, I'm sorry, we've gone out to bid, and the selectmen have given it to Continental. Because the town reserves the right.
Right.
So the town was not obligated to Brock's.
Correct.
Brock's was obligated to us. And that's the key difference.
See, I think the selectmen exercised their right.
There is no right, though, under 32.7.
In 2012, they exercised their
Right in the contract.
right in the contractual right to extend it to Brock's to the next year. That's how I see it happening. And so it can only go to Brock's. Because they exercised the right. They wanted flexibility in this contract, which was put in there. So they exercised their right to extend this contract into the next year. But I'm not an attorney, and I don't think we have a legal opinion based on all the facts yet. So I would suggest that you might want to wait, and if Christine doesn't respond, and she may say this is too specific, we deal in general opinions, consult your town attorney.
Yeah.
That may be her response.
I think that's probably what she's going to say, because I think it's too specific. It's too town-specific to a specific. And I think, Hollis, it's just the same as the planning board gets an opinion from LGC. It's what Bernie Waugh used to always say. Yeah. I'm only giving you a generality. Right. If you really, because basically you get what you pay for.
Right.
And we get these legal opinions because we're a member there. But
when we talk about specifics, it's a lot more labor and time intensive, and they don't have the resources to invest in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what we should do, because the historical references that go back, where we did have the issue that first year when it was. We were a little surprised, and it caught us all by surprise, because all of a sudden nobody realized that now it's in the budget. It wasn't a special article. Well, yeah, when we did it. And we went through this, and Carl is also right. Carl had the contract language. We went through this discussion. We have had this contract, and we've been going through this. And when we put this together, and let's see, both you and I were here, Nick, when we put this together. So this was put together, and we had all, full understanding that exactly what we were going to do is that we had in place what we could do. And I think, as far as everything that I see and I've heard, I mean, department head and staff are doing exactly what we wanted them to do.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there was any wrongdoing or we're all operating under past history, but it didn't change the fact of what I saw in the encumbrance. And I think going forward, signing something or putting something in writing with that purchase order to whoever the vendor is saying, come spring, these are the roads that you're doing, signed, and it's not changing that. Then that becomes a binding contract with that vendor. There is no ifs, ands, or otherwise. When we go out to bid the next year, they're getting, whoever gets it is getting the balance of the work.
So Nick, if I can just sort of, if I'm hearing this right, summarize it properly, your position is that Brock's is bound to us. We are not necessarily bound to Brock's.
By the simple fact that we went out to bid and awarded everything to Continental. If we were bound to Brock's, we couldn't have done that. And your email on May 1st, you wouldn't have said, we don't have any intention of using Brock's this year, so there couldn't have been a legal obligation. We're trying to create one now, but from January until May, there was no legal obligation there.
And I see it that we had a legal obligation to Brock's, and that only to Brock's.
Yeah, I do too. And if I was Brock's, I could make that argument.
Well, but nonetheless, we clearly have a difference of opinion amongst board members, and I think that warrants
legal opinion.
And I agree. I don't think LGC is going to give it to us, but we take that step.
Yeah, I'll see tomorrow if she responds. If
Sure.
she doesn't respond, then I'll get it out to Attorney Drescher.
Right.
I was going to make a suggestion, because these are large dollars and big. Would it be, if we can't get a legal opinion from LGC, could we have Attorney Drescher come in for a short period of time? Because then we can cover a lot of things, like how can we change the contract and what things can we put in place, which is easier than email strings back and forth.
And that's what I asked, that was my concluding statement to Christine. If it doesn't meet the requirements, we want to do it right, so tell us what do we change.
Phil, did you have another?
Yeah, just so that everybody understands that we're on, what we're discussing here. We're discussing, there's 235 political subdivisions in the state of New Hampshire, and what we're doing right here, as far as when we reclaim the roads, we always let the road go through one winter for the freeze and thaw cycle, and then we put the wear course on the following year. Carl, have we been doing this as long as you've been in town?
As long as we've had money.
We've been doing it even when Armin Dugas was here, and I think his predecessor, we were doing that. This is not something that only Goffstown does it. Out of the 235 political subdivisions, the overwhelming majority do the same thing. So there's got to be some way. Either we're all violating the law, okay, or there's a deficiency in the law. Because I don't think there's anything in here that's anybody is trying to break the law.
Correct.
All we're trying to do is get the roads paved the proper way. Taxpayers want the roads fixed. We're trying to do that. We're trying to do the best way. When we went from the special article to the budget, we found a quirk going from special article to having it in the budget. We tried to correct it. We thought we've had it corrected. I don't think there is any ill intention here of trying to violate the law, trying to take one vendor from another vendor, or take money that belongs to one vendor and now give it to somebody else. I don't think there's anything like that. So I think if there is a process, if there's a problem, I think there's a flaw in the law, perhaps, and it should get done through the legislature.
And I would hope and expect that would come out of a legal opinion from our town attorney, because we are obligated to be the custodians of the taxpayers' dollars, and we want to make sure we're doing it right. So
The simple fix, I can tell you right now, if you want to save the Attorney Drescher money, the simple fix to this is at the end of the season, if we decide to exercise our right, it's a simple change order in contract time. Right now, the contract has to be complete by October 15th or whatever it is. If we want to keep them engaged through spring, at year end, we would simply do a contract amendment. The form's right in the contract, and you can amend both contract schedule and contract dollars. We would simply extend the schedule to some date, June 30th. Contract provisions stay in place. The money's there, the roads are there. the contract already addresses the escalator and asphalt, so they can't scream that, well, what if asphalt spikes or fluctuates? So the contract really already addresses this. The whole intention of it was to carry work if we had to. So I think it's all there. It's just a case of, to the point that Selectman Camposano's making is the contract date expired, but the selectmen did vote, let's encumber the money, let's do a PO to Brock's. Past practice told me, and this is what was in error, is next year's vendor comes in, we just do the road, and we've done it that way for years and years and years and years and years, and it just never quite fell into this trap. But it's it certainly was no ill intent. That's just always the way we did it.
What template do you follow for this contract?
It's basically, I think it's AIG.
Yeah, you have it in the contract itself that you
Yeah.
follow
Okay.
AIG.
Yeah. So it's like a.
And that's like a national template?
Yeah, it's like a, an association of engineers and.
Do other
architects
towns
or
use it?
something. Yeah, almost everybody uses it.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not saying that anybody did anything wrong. I'm not implying that. But just to correct, you're partially correct, Selectman Devanza, in the wear course. Because the amount we encumber far exceeds the amount we use for wear courses, but you're correct. We use, the second year we do the wear course on the roads. For instance, this year I think it was $119,000 in wear course, but we encumbered $336,000. So it does take care of the wear course, but there is other additional money to do more work, to do more reclamation work, or whatever we're doing.
Yeah, whatever they are. Last year we had several overlays, and we had a whole reclamation job that didn't get done. So it's all of it.
So how do the board members feel about Carl's representation that it's covered just with contract changes? Duration, dollars?
Well, I think we still have to deal with this year's encumbrance, and so I still think we need
Legal advice?
legal advice on that.
If you can email me times, because your next meeting is an all-boards meeting, so that wouldn't be a good time to meet. And the following week, you have your presentation on the I-293. So if you want to do like a special time, not at a regular meeting, to meet with your Attorney Drescher, just email me dates and times you're available.
Yeah, I think
Do it
that's a good
Monday.
idea. And then the following week's Memorial Day weekend, so yeah,
Right.
we're going to be up into June before we know it.
Yeah, and you want to get this settled before that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we will email our availability to Sue for a special meeting on some other night. Anything else?
The other item, which I don't know how the board responded, but Sue emailed around this afternoon. It fell through our cracks when we were putting together your packet. But Megan had sent around
Traffic control?
the traffic control for Pleasant Street. This evening, the Selectmen in New Boston are hearing a presentation by their road agent on this plan, because we've tried to involve them and we've met with DOT. There are a lot of signs involved in this, so before we go ordering a whole bunch of signs, I wanted to at least get a sense that the board is somewhat on board with it. If you want to have a formal hearing about it later, we can, but at least a straw poll before we spend the money on signs and posts would be a wonderful thing. Are we comfortable talking about it, or do we want to?
Yeah, I'm looking for it. No, I've misplaced it, right? That slide. Can't seem to, yeah, thank you. Sure.
I know, like you said, Carl, we're trying to keep the traffic flowing and moving as quick and as easy as possible, and I agree with you 100% there. And I read it, I looked at it. I mean, I don't see any easy way around, other than, I mean, you guys have kind of come up with the best of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, there is no easy way
No,
around
there is no easy way around. I mean,
On West Union, I noticed you're covering the no left, so the flagger will be there to allow traffic to make that left-hand turn.
Right. We'll put a dedicated flagger there during the day. At night, open it up one way so that they don't have to come out that intersection. And, New Boston, we'll see what they do tonight, but we They had a verbal presentation probably 3 weeks ago. They were comfortable with it, but we offered, once we had plans, to let them really see what we're talking about. So they've got that for tonight. They're looking at it.
They've got this plan?
And the DOT hasn't, we haven't gotten a letter from them, but they've met and looked at it. And they've received it as well. And verbally, they're okay with it, but we haven't gotten that back from them in writing yet.
Okay, so we're just waiting to see if our neighbors are comfortable.
Right.
How we're handling this thing.
Yeah, it involves, the discomfort for New Boston is that they have no through trucking during certain hours of the day on Parker Road.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was a trucker coming out of, those gravel pits or coming out of New Boston, I'd want to avoid this. So that it's going to force the trucks down Parker Road, which is what we're trying to do. But obviously, the selectmen over there have to answer to the residents on Parker Road for it.
And then they'd head down to Center Street or around and come across Henry Bridge again.
Yeah.
They can't.
Mr. Chairman?
What's the project duration? To refresh my memory.
Well, we, our schedule, we don't start till school's out. It'll pretty much be the whole 8 weeks or so during the summer, if we're lucky. And that's assuming if we can shut that road down during the day, that's going to help us out a lot.
Yeah.
If we have to work around traffic, that slows
We
everything
just won't
down.
have school buses to deal with, right?
Yeah.
What's the weight limit on the Howe Bridge, Carl? Is that with the traffic? Is that bridge going to have issues with that?
Do they have one now?
They have new bridge. That's a new bridge. It shouldn't be an
It's
issue
been
at all.
replaced.
Which bridge are you talking about?
It's the New Boston one
On
on Parker Road.
The Howe Bridge.
Howe Bridge, yeah, all the way up.
Okay. I just...
No, that was brand new.
Yeah.
6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be an issue at all, because they put that in specifically for truck traffic.
Right.
Okay, as long as the bridge is not an issue.
So we're waiting to hear how New Boston reacts to this whole thing.
Yeah.
They're meeting tonight.
Yeah. And the boards heard it once, and they verbally were okay with it, but we told them we'd show it to them on paper. So I'm assuming we'll get
So
a
when
positive
do you need
response.
action from us? Tonight, or can we wait till next week so we can hear what their comments were, or how would you like to this board to proceed?
Well, most of the signs we're ordering are standard signs. There's just a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not spend the money if we don't have to. So if the board is comfortable, I'll go ahead and order signposts, and I can hold off the special signs, I guess, and just start ordering the standard ones. But if the board's relatively comfortable, I'll gamble and order the signs.
I personally am relatively comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know what other options we have. I mean, this is
I
a
don't see what
tough
we
nut
do.
to crack, and
Yeah.
school's going to be getting out before.
But
Yeah.
the more the better for something like this,
Yeah.
so people know where they're
We've
going.
talked with New Boston, they're with Dick, and those guys are all pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And school will be getting out quicker than we know it.
Even Chairman Lovejoy was okay with it, and this is going to go right by his house. So
Well, you can understand, it's going to have to go ahead somewhere.
It's only temporary.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. So we're going to take a motion to approve the
I'll
plan.
make a motion to approve the signages and the project as presented.
All righty. Thank you. Do you have a second on the motion?
Second.
Selectman Lemay, is there any discussion on that issue? None? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Carl.
thank you all.
Ooh, look at that. We're right on time, Jay. Come on forward. We're going to talk discussion item tonight about the cable committee and their capital needs. So,
Yes. Good evening, gentlemen.
the floor is yours.
Yes. I was involved in the cable contract proceedings with Sue, and as we went along, there was the issue of the settlement of the, I don't know if Sue wants to address it better than I could, but I think it was a settlement in regards to the zip code issue. And under the contract, as from the beginning, going through, the $100,000 was going to be used for GTV, dedicated for GTV equipment funds, to be able to, over the 5-year period, to be able to upgrade the ancient equipment that we currently have. There are very large priced items that are going to be coming up, such as the playback system, which is about $18,500. I personally in Manchester, I apologize, Jason Cody GTV chairman. I personally, 2 years ago, did that myself. It's a very large endeavor, especially you don't know exactly certain things that can happen, hard drives that you might have to add on, and so on. But I'm fairly comfortable saying about $18,500. That's going to have to be done in the next couple of years. There's no doubt in my mind. Last year, we were actually down for about 6 weeks during the summertime because of this issue. It has been somewhat rectified, but it's done with Band-Aids right now. We were waiting for this situation. We were waiting for the new coordinator to come in because as a coordinator myself in Manchester, I prefer to make a lot of the big decisions on what type of playback system, just what I'm more familiar with. So that item, lighting in the studio, the lighting fixtures in the studio are running about 15 years old, about 12 to 15 years old. And the cameras there are also running about 10 to 12 years. Studio cameras don't get used as much as field cameras do, but about 12 to 15 years is when you're going to be replacing them because the chips inside start to fail. Those large items are roughly around $35,000 combined. So together it's about $50,000 roughly. These are going to have to be done in the next 3 years. There's no doubt in my mind. So my thought process is, and I love giving back the taxes as much as anybody else, trust me. I was hoping that in the spirit of the 40%, 60% situation that we have, going with 40% of the franchise fees go to GTV right now, currently in the voters approved it, and 60% go to the town. I think if we had the roughly $40,000 out of the 100 went to GTV as an equipment, that could give us the next 2 years and would give us enough the $8,500 budgeted equipment in a revolving account to be able to cover those 2 years of the large items. And then after that, we're just hope and pray that everything is fine for 3 years, and then the contract will be up and over. But that's my thought. If you guys have any questions or any ideas otherwise, I'm more than happy to. But I'm just going to tell you, gentlemen, it's going to happen. There's no way around it. If that playback system goes and we don't have the money to fix it, the channel's not going to run. That's just inevitable. And the last thing I want to do, as part of the chairman, is to walk in here and say, guys, we're getting $112,000, but I'm the one. I put the budget together that was actually handed to you guys that you guys approved. I can tell you, $8,500 a year is dedicated for equipment. The rest is all salaries because of the full-time person and their health benefits, workman's comp and so on. But that is my thought and idea to the situation. I definitely, as a taxpayer in Goffstown, definitely understand giving some back. But I'll open up to any questions at all you guys might have.
Questions, sir? Jason.
Just want to make sure, I'm not sure, are you saying as an alternative to take the percentage of that 100,000?
Yes, as an alternative, instead of taking all 100,000 that's currently in the contract that's stated right now, to maybe change it to 60% town, 40% GTV.
Okay. Do you know why we have a user fee?
A user fee is a
franchise fee?
Yes, absolutely. I know why. Yeah.
What is it?
It's PEG Access, Public Education and Government. Even before that, I was going to say the class. It was in 1984, Cable Act that was established in the federal government stated that public education and government, towns in general, could charge fees to the cable companies to give them the right, more or less, right of way in their towns to use the poles, the lines, and so on and so forth, and almost their customers at a 5% rate of the current bill that you're paying. That 5% was supposed to, and as they do in Massachusetts, 5% goes directly to PEG, Public Education and Government Access, for the citizens to be able to express their opinions, because people thought that, it's even worse now, but people thought that, ABC, NBC, and CBS were the only thing people were hearing, and everything was national.
Well, let's stay to the franchise fee. You said that it's a fee for the use of the poles and the cables and everything, so it's a fee in lieu of what?
Fee in lieu of, in what sense? It's the fee of...
Well, it's a fee for using the telephone poles, the lines that are in the public right-of-way.
Correct.
It's a fee in lieu of tax.
They pay taxes now, though, because of Verizon 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
But back then...
Back then they didn't.
Thank you.
But now
back then when it was established, the fee is in lieu of tax.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So I guess the concern that I have is that it's very easy to say that this is not anything that the users pay this fee. But the users pay the fee in lieu of a tax that we had the ability to tax because they use the poles and the lines that are in the public right-of-way. So that's why we were able to tax them. And so in lieu of the fee, okay, the users are paying the fee, and they're really, really paying that fee to the town for the use of the right-of-way, which is owned by the taxpayers. So the fee is in lieu of taxation, of a tax that the town has the right to tax.
I do not at all deny what you're saying.
What I have a little difficulty, okay? I have a little difficulty to say that the fee is solely by the users. It's in lieu of tax used for what all the citizens of Goffstown own. In other words, if I don't have the cable, I, as a taxpayer, my portion of that public right-of-way, a private entity is using, and I have a right to something, so when this money comes in and goes into the general fund, every taxpayer, every citizen, every property owner in the town of Goffstown is getting that little portion of what they own in the right-of-way coming back to them. But when you take it away and say it's a fee, and now you take that fee and you take it out of the general fund and you use it as that fee that you don't go through the budget process anymore from.
Okay.
All right? Where I'm coming from is that this $100,000 is a makeup of the shortchange that we had back then when we had the ability to tax. So my position and all I'm saying is that this money is to pay back that portion of time where that money was coming from. And that's all I'm trying to say.
Oh, no, I absolutely do not disagree with you. Franchise fee is a term. It's a tax, let's be honest. The municipalities use it for whatever they choose to use it. 80% of them use it in some portion or another for PEG access, and I totally understand and agree with you. I'm just giving the realization of the situation is that the board chose not to have a pass-through grant, which is totally acceptable. You guys chose to do that. Other towns have done that, and other towns have not. If you do not give a portion of this money, we are going to have to come back to you. There's no way around it. So this equipment is not going to go away, and it's not going to fix itself. So instead of having to come back for it later, I'm just saying you might want to.
If I can, let's get focused back on the issue here, and that's what do we do with the $100,000 as a result of the 103-102 issue. Originally, you had come to us asking for $100,000. I think I hear you saying tonight 40 would do. 40 to the cable TV operating, and the other 60 back to the taxpayers.
Correct.
So that's what we're here to discuss and determine whether or not we, as a board, think that's an appropriate breakdown of those monies. With that in mind, what are the thoughts of the board? Is that a reasonable breakdown, or Nick, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, last week when we originally looked at this, my position was I thought that settlement should come back to the town. I looked at the article that passed, Article 18, and there's two things that can go into that revolving fund: 40% of the franchise fee and a grant for equipment.
Right.
This settlement, if you just look at the settlement, doesn't fit into either one of those things. But if you say it is the franchise fee, which it is, it's a return of franchise fee, I think we can reason that the agreement and what the voters approved was 40% of the franchise fees should go to the revolving fund, the remaining 60%. In hearing your explanation of the capital needs, I'm assuming that $40,000 plus the $25,000 capital grant would give you, that $65,000 would meet your needs at least for the next.
Yeah, the $25,000 is items that are
modulators.
Yeah, the modulators are $15,000. They have to be done. They're terrible, and the other $10,000 is for the drops. I guess they're partially funded situation. I couldn't give you exact language of what that is, but the 25,000 is separate. The 100,000 is really the discussion point. Just in my feeling,
Okay.
in my feeling, anyways.
So the drops that are listed on the second page to the media center, the gym, those are being paid for out of that 25,000?
There's something to do with the $10,000. I can't remember when the negotiations were happening. I know 15,000 because we bought the same modulars that you guys are going to be doing. I know they're 15. I think there was 10,000 that had to be done for something. I can't remember, but I could be wrong. Could absolutely be wrong. But I thought the 25,000 was one thing, and the 100,000 was really the discussion point of what was.
I thought in the end, the drops were on them without a pass-through.
Could be, and I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to.
I know we took a long way to get
it was
there.
Very long. It was a very long situation. So.
Yeah. But I appreciate the committee's willingness to work with the town in this manner, and I would be
And it seems appropriate.
comfortable with that.
Yeah, their new
split.
proposal seems to fit nicely with what the voters had approved. The numbers line up. I'm very comfortable with it. Other members of the board?
See any reason why we can go ahead with this, really.
Good. I'm
We'll spend it sooner or later.
Oh, no, I'm okay. I was just I just wanted Jason to understand.
I've been doing this for 15 years. I understand.
Well,
Trust me.
no, I guess
He gets it.
It's just this, when you say it's a user fee, it's only the user fee, and you're dealing with revenue.
It's just terminology that can be mixed and matched. I totally understand what you're
That's
saying.
all. No,
So we need to give our blessing to this proposal, and this divvying up of
I think
of the
we
money.
will,
I believe I left a franchise agreement to sign.
Yep.
There are two different settlement agreements, one with the 100,000 going to PEG and the other without that language, just accepting the 100,000. And then if you took a second, so first vote would be to sign the franchise agreement and the settlement agreement, and then without it going to GTV, and then do a motion to authorize 40% of that settlement agreement to go to GTV. That would be fine.
Okay. So we need two separate motions, am I hearing?
I would think so.
One
Because
to
it's
accept.
two separate issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
First would be accept the contract.
Accept
Franchise agreement.
Franchise agreement.
franchise
sorry.
agreement.
I call it contract all the time, too.
I'll make the motion to accept the
Comcast franchise agreement.
Comcast franchise
And with the
agreement.
attachments.
As we've seen in our
Yep.
boxes.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on
Nope.
that issue? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Now we need a motion relative to how we're going to deal with. the-
Motion to authorize the town administrator to make the 60-40 split for the 03102 zip code settlement between general fund and the cable TV revolving
Okay,
fund.
do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second it, as long as we have in there the caveat of which is which, 60-40.
60 is the town, 40 to cable.
Cable.
Yep.
The question.
Yes.
Just so I'm specific, the 25,000 are discussions. So in actuality of the 125, 65 should go to GTV and 60 should go to the town.
Yeah, the
Because it was
25.
100. I just want to make sure.
That's a separate issue.
Okay, as long as they're
That's
separate.
already in the
I
contract.
haven't read it in a while, and I apologize.
That's
okay.
Wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's separate. We don't need to.
That's put under the capital funding, which goes into the revolving fund.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on how we're going to split them, that 100,000? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason.
Mr. Chairman, we have a member of the public here for the
Oh.
second public comment session whenever you have it.
Let's do that right now. Good
That would
evening.
be me.
Yes.
Somebody else,
Yes, that
okay.
would be you. You are the public tonight.
I'm the public. Okay, first of all, my name is Brad Parkhurst. I live at 81 South Mass Street in Goffstown. I was here originally in support to be with Jason because I am on the GTV committee. I'm also on the Parks and Recreation Commission, but what I'm here for now is myself as a taxpayer and where I live. I hadn't planned on speaking tonight, but after talking to a couple of people, I'm going to go ahead. You all know where I live. As you know, my property, and we're dealing with my frontage. We're not talking about the back. That's a separate issue. In the restoration of my property after Delory finished their project, To give you a little history, back when Methuen put the sewer line in, they had to have an easement on my property and a little bit on Dugrenier's property, which basically runs diagonally from the big rock all the way through to just past East Union Street. I signed the easement. That property was never properly restored. I finally restored it myself. As you know, I've had some drainage problems with the floods. And in part of the South Mass Street restoration project, you worked with me to hopefully alleviate that problem. Part of that problem, to alleviate it, is you asked for an easement to put a drain in on my property that fronts on South Mass Street. And by the way, that easement is on the other easement, but we won't go down that road. And it seems to have taken care of most of the drainage problem, but it didn't take an engineer to figure out if you put a drain at the lowest point of where the water is, that it's going to go out there. There are still some problems. As you know, you had to fix a problem across the street, and I don't know the gentleman's name, Fred. I know his first name is Fred, because there was a ponding issue over there. My basic concern is, if you come down and look at my property, if it was your property, you wouldn't accept the restoration. As a matter of fact, I have very little grass there where I used to have grass. I ask you to go take a look at it. I know some of you are aware of it. I am willing, to bring the loan in. I'll fix it if the town would just reimburse me for the expenses, because the last time I had to do it, I did it on my own cost. Also to be aware that there may be a failure in the sewage system where the sewer easement is. There is a possibility of developing sinkhole in my driveway. You can see where there's quite a pothole there. It hasn't broken through yet. Somebody might want to take a look at it because it may eventually fail. That's aside from the fact of the restoration of the property. I'd just like to work something with the town to have grass again. I guess that's the way I'm stating it, where I used to have grass. And I'll just leave it at that. And there's quite a bit of frontage, because I also go down, and I'm not looking for the land down East Union Street that I also own. I'm just looking on my South Mass Street side. As you all know, I take pride in my property, and I think I spend a lot of time taking care of it. I'm just looking for some sort of resolution. That's it.
Well, thank you for your comment. We'll take it under advisement.
Okay. Any questions somebody has to ask?
I'd like to take a ride down, take a look at
I'd take it right now, look at it from its
detail.
What's the address?
81 South Mass.
81.
Right on the corner of East Union and South Mass.
That nice White House.
Yep.
Big White
with
House.
the big barn in the back.
Yeah, big barn in the back, yeah.
At the end of the driveway.
Just all along the sidewalk area. Now I'm speaking again. The town did restore my sidewalks, which I appreciate, after going around with Dolores saying that it wasn't our responsibility when I have pictures of their excavator parked in my yard, which makes me think I do have an extensive amount of photographs of the whole area, a very extensive amount, because I was told by the town engineer to document everything, which I did. Anybody's welcome. And by the way, if you do go down there, park in my driveway, but turn around in my driveway, don't back out onto South Mass Street. You can if you want to, but...
Yeah. I think we might have a couple of questions. Nick, do you have a question?
Has there been any have you had any correspondence or conversations with Public Works since the work was done regarding the restoration that we should be aware of?
I haven't really said it directly with them. When I've seen Megan and Alex, I pointed it out to them. That's all.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, I came down for GTV, so, and Parks and Rec also. Okay, thank you very much.
So I guess we should
Right.
probably contact somebody from the sewer department to see what that sinkhole is going to turn out to be before we make any other decisions or anything else.
I'm going to take a ride by and stop and take a close look at it, see what the situation
We need to
is.
get somebody over there to look at that,
Yep.
in case it's got something to do with it.
Yep.
So if we go back to the agenda, under 11 B, we're old business. We talked about the cable franchise agreement. We dealt with that, and there's the issue of the record retention policy.
Right. That was removing the word physical.
Right.
And that's been done, and that's in for your signature.
And I think that was the only issue we had. Is that correct? So
Do we need to vote on that?
I think we did.
We didn't vote yet.
Oh, we did not? That's
I don't
right, we were
believe
going to
so.
wait, we were going
You're
to
gonna
wait for
wait.
the change to be
Yeah.
made, sure, so we need a motion.
Oh,
to
I thought we
adopt.
did.
No, I don't know.
Motion to accept the records retention policy?
Second that.
We have a motion.
Motion by Nick.
Selectman Campusano, seconded by Selectman Brown. Any discussion on retention policy? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We did the committee reports. Is there any other old business that members want to bring forward? And is there any new business? Yes.
I have one item. Over the weekend, both Selectman LeMay and I were contacted by a resident on New Boston Road regarding a water issue. And they were having a very difficult time trying to contact someone. They didn't know who to contact. And looking at the website, I'm wondering if we could suggest to both precincts that, one, if we could improve their presence on the website, because now you have to look at non-town committees to find them.
Right.
And then if we could ask them to provide contact information for after hours.
Do they have website? Their own websites?
I went to the town website. I don't know
Okay.
if they have their own.
Because if they had their own, we could just do a link.
Right.
Correct.
I'm not aware of one.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Just to make it easier for a resident who's having a
For
water
our-
issue to be able to contact someone off hours.
Typically, people call the police department, and they have emergency numbers to get in touch with people at the water precincts.
Yeah, but I've gotten phone calls like that in the past from the same, because people don't know who to call.
Right.
They have a water problem, they live in Goffstown, so they call Goffstown.
I guess the thing that upset me is the homeowner Friday tried to contact the water precinct. Whether he did or not, I'm not 100% sure, but I know the homeowner was left hanging over Friday night into Saturday when I got my message Saturday, and I contacted the rest of the board because I was unavailable to handle the situation. There's no need of that is what I want to say to you guys. I mean, they pay taxes in town, they pay for their services in town. We at least owe them a phone call back to let them know that we'll have the satisfaction, or they'll have the satisfaction of, having somebody come out to look at it either at night or first light in the morning. I mean, I apologize for the situation that happened, and hopefully never happen again.
Should we have that discussion at the all boards meeting?
We can do that. Yeah, that'd be.
Because that is the responsibility of the water precinct.
Right.
That's not to say we should shrug it off and pass it
Oh,
off.
no, we're
We
willing
should-
to put any information they want on our website.
Right, we should have a process in place to deal with those
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give them a heads up that we'll be asking that at the meeting. One person has requested, because they have a meeting immediately, the same night as the all boards meeting, and so they were going to come here first, and they asked if they could be first to speak when you go around to the committees.
Okay.
So I'll put them first on the agenda, if that's okay,
That's
because they
fine.
have to leave.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Any other business to come before the board this evening? Yes, Nick?
Just a follow-up, and this may have been under old business. When we had the school district here, we brought up the issue with the handicap parking spaces. They were going to go back to their board to see if it was a fundraising donation type thing, if they would be willing to put those spaces in. So they haven't gotten back to us yet, but maybe if that's on the agenda to talk about at the all boards meeting, so we can discuss that.
I'll give them a heads up, too, that we'll be looking for a response. I don't know if they've met since then.
Yes, that's right.
Well, it's still a good item to bring up
Yep.
at the all boards meeting. Yeah.
Definitely.
Mr. Chair, just to recap on the committee reports. This past week, we had a meeting with the Wellness Committee. Ron O'Keefe came in and did a presentation on ergonomics for the Highway Department, Police Department, how to work safely, good physical fitness, getting in and out of police cars, police cruisers. Today police cruisers have changed drastically from the Crown Vics to what they are today. It's much more compact, a lot tighter. They're finding some some issues, injuries occurring to that. They're a much smaller cabin to get into, and he just urged everybody to, use caution getting in and out of cars, and safety at all times. It was a good program. Lasted about an hour. Did very well. Police had it. Fire was there. Highway had it. I don't know if anyone from Town Hall attended it or not. I'm not sure, but.
We had a nurse come in once and go through everyone's workstation. And
Oh,
that
did
was
they?
part of-
Yeah.
Provided to us by LGC.
Yeah.
But that probably should get done again because staff changes, locations
Yeah.
change.
Furniture changes.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
to adjourn.
Thank you. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion by Phil, and who was the second?